Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Sabins, and this is my second project presentation for ICOM495. So kind of just a rehash on what my creative project is. I am going to be redesigning the Muncie Children's Museum website to make it more visually appealing, interactive, as well as educational. So again, just a little bit of background about me. I've interned at the Muncie Children's Museum since this past fall, helping with the museum's marketing and PR campaigns. I really love my work there, but one thing I noticed right off the bat when I started the position was that their current website, it has all the necessary information, but it's very outdated and doesn't really give users a sense of what I believe the museum is, which is a fun yet educational institution for kids to explore. So again, just kind of to rehash. Oh, never mind, it's not working. One moment. Again, it has all of the necessary information, just a little boring, seems a bit outdated. So I really wanted to redo it and make sure that it's a lot more interactive, visually appealing, etc. Again, just scope. I may face issues of balancing time. I am the only individual who helps with the museum's PR and marketing campaigns. Therefore, I know I need to make sure to leave time for my other duties. And audience, this new website will be designed for potential visitors of the museum to learn more about what the museum has to offer. Just knowing who visits the museum, most of the times it's probably going to be parents looking for a fun place to take their children. Therefore, I need to make sure that this website accurately displays what's available at the museum, what events the museum will be hosting in the near future, as well as the basic info such as business hours and admission price. And so the hopeful outcome after this project is over is that visitors to the site will understand more about the museum, whether that be the exhibits, to what events the families can attend, and again, just the basic info such as the history, the staff, business hours, price, etc. Again, just really focusing on making it more visually appealing, more interactive, and just more of a fun space that reflects the same environment that's present in the museum. So I did do my first paper prototype. So when I was thinking of what I wanted to test, I knew that there were kind of three main components of the website that I believed were the most important for visitors to understand. So first is homepage. That's the first thing that visitors are going to see, so you need to make sure that it attracts them, it makes them want to stay and explore the page. Second is exhibits, because that's really where website visitors are going to be able to learn what our museum has to offer, and if that's not appealing, they're not going to actually come to the museum. So I knew that had to be very visual, very interactive, and also very informative. But then also the calendar, because one thing the Muncie Children's Museum does really well is having so many great events, and so I really wanted to make sure that visitors were aware of these events and would be able to find them easily on the website. So I'm going to go and take you guys to my paper prototypes. These are pretty low fidelity. I'm not an artist by any means. But essentially what I did was I made some different options for each of those three sections: the homepage, exhibits, and the calendar. Again, you guys can see on here, I kind of just tested different layouts of what people would like. A lot of them I did kind of model after some of the sites I did my research on. Again, just really making sure they were visually appealing, thinking about photos, trying to simplify down the number of pages, because if you look here on the current website, there's just a lot of different tabs. And I feel like a lot of these could be combined into one page. Again, as I said, some of these I modeled after research. I really enjoyed the Newfields website, so I liked this aspect of being able to scroll down with really huge, visually appealing photos. Here were some layouts for exhibits. Again, lots of photos, but making sure that it's simple enough that people understand what's going on, what's available. That's my third layout for exhibits. And then again, the calendar, I thought that was a really important aspect to include in this paper prototype testing. There's another option. Again, not a whole lot of difference, but you know, some of those little details definitely matter in the third. Again, very low fidelity, but I just wanted to make sure I got the basic info across to my testing users. So who did I test? So I actually tested 5 different users. I tested 4 Ball State students who had either A, visited the museum before, or B, had an interest in visiting the museum. While they weren't parents, I felt that anyone could look at that website again and see that it wasn't, or the current website really isn't in the best space, I guess, but even though they weren't parents, I guess that they could understand what a good website looks like, if that makes sense. And then my 5th user actually was a parent, actually back in my hometown, who was completely unfamiliar with the institution. So that user actually ended up being very helpful because she did have kids of her own, so that way I could really get kind of a feel if parents would want to actually take their children to this museum, which I think is the whole goal of redesigning this website. So how did I test? So basically for my test, I sat down with each user. First, I just kind of described what I was doing, why I wanted to do this. And so the first thing after that was I showed them the current website. I didn't give them a whole lot of direction. I kind of just asked them to look at it, explore the site by themselves, but, you know, click on the different tabs, but be sure to tell me as he or she went through what he or she liked, what was working well, but also definitely what these people disliked about the site was obviously a huge part of it. Again, most people agreed, I'll get to that in a second, but most people did not like the current website, which I know from most of the people in the class off of feedback off my first presentation definitely agreed. So then secondly, I brought out my own paper prototypes. I explained what I was doing for my project, and then again, just kind of explained what I really wanted to accomplish with this project, and then asked each user to go through each layout and say, again, kind of just exploring, but saying what he or she liked and disliked about each. And then lastly, because I didn't do this online, I had my actual sheets of paper out in front of the users. So lastly, I asked the user to kind of put together his or her ideal website. So essentially taking their favorite homepage, their favorite exhibit page, and their favorite calendar page, and kind of mesh those together and say, okay, this is what I would really like to see. So major results, again, I just mentioned this a moment ago, but essentially no one liked the old website. You know, varying comments, but I think everyone had the mutual agreement that it was not very appealing and it seemed kind of unprofessional given that, you know, it's a fairly well-known museum, at least in the Muncie community. But everyone liked what I was proposing with the new website. I think everyone really liked photos. I know photos are so important when trying to attract people on websites or in any sort of media. You know, our eyes are automatically attracted to photos. And I think people like the idea of having it be easier to navigate because it is a lot right now on the current website. Like I said, there's just so many tabs, pages, it's hard to figure out where you want to go and get lost in all the information. But there were some concerns with my paper prototypes, which is good. I want that feedback right now before I flesh out the digital actual website too much. But some actually, though, were a little worried that the new site didn't include enough info. So I know I need to really make that balance between having too much, like it's on the current website, or not having enough information, because that could also cause issues as well. And then also some got confused on how you would navigate to other pages. For example, like getting back to the home page if you're on the exhibit page, which is something I honestly wasn't even thinking about when I was making my paper prototypes. So again, very helpful feedback. Of course, there are a few other comments too, but for the most part, those were kind of the big consensus or the big agreements as I saw throughout my users. So the paper prototyping proved to be very, very helpful. I'm very glad that I was able to do that. And so after I did my paper prototyping, I moved on to my digital prototype, and I will go ahead and show you guys that. Again, not fully fleshed out yet, but I feel like I have the framework. I'm working right now on incorporating actual, photos. Obviously, you can see right now they're stock photos, but, getting some more of our videos, our photos, our graphics, that kind of thing. So, again, I really wanted to kind of have that balance between um, having enough information, but also making sure it was simple enough that you didn't feel overwhelmed and that the visuals really powered you. So, as you can see up here on the top bar, I have our logo, one of the first things you see. Again, just kind of help with branding. Color scheme, I tried to stick with the logo's colors. But I just kind of broke it down into home. As you can see, we have some wonderful HD photos here of people I don't know, but that will turn into photos taken at the museum. Just a slider, people are, automatically attracted to that. And then as you scroll down, I just really wanted to make sure that the info that I felt was the most important, you could see right off the bat. So here we have the hours, obviously that's very important. Upcoming events. I just took some of the banners that I had made, to advertise these events, just took the JPEGs and put them in here to let people know right away that, we have spring break right now, we have a health fair coming up. And then I have admission prices, $6 per person. And then I have our contact info, address, phone number, email, and then our social links. I just felt thinking about what visitors would need to see right away. Those are definitely the most important components. And again, rather than on the old page, breaking it into a tab for each of those sections, I just wanted to put it all in one cohesive place. So again, up here we have the bar, so we have our home. Then I kind of put our story together. I felt like using those words, using that language kind of made it more personal. Again, another HD high quality photo that's actually at a museum, but it's at the Muncie Children's Museum. Again, just kind of breaking it all, taking some of those tabs that were broken into different pages at the old website and putting them into one cohesive area. So our admission, our history, and this is the actual text that is used on the website, and then the current board members, and then we have exhibits. And a lot of people on my paper prototyping really liked this kind of square layout where you can see the photo right away because, again, photos are going to be a lot more powerful than words in this instance just because people want to be able to see what their kids can play on. You can only describe, like, we have our ant wall, we have our creativity center. You can only describe that so much with words. I think photos are a lot more powerful in this instance. So, again, this will eventually become photos of each exhibit. Then you can click on each square and learn a little bit more about the exhibit. And then finally, we have calendar. So, unfortunately, I didn't have as much leeway with this one just because, I know some coding, I can't do it all. So I just used a previously built-in plugin. I used a template on Wix. And so I have this calendar, which I think serves its purpose. And again, just having some upcoming events over here that I think are going to be really important. So yeah, that is where I am right now. As I said, I'm still working on kind of fleshing out some more of our photos, but I have most of our text in there now. But I really hope this is a successful project because I really love working at the museum. I think it's a really great place, and I really hope that by redesigning this website, more people will be more willing to come to the museum, and that this website will really reflect how great this museum is and how wonderful it is that we have a place like this here in Delaware County. But yeah, thank you.